Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing good. Man, we have a lot to talk about, and I hope you have some questions for me. I want to say a big thank you to David Hunter. I hope you're having a good time getting some moments with your bees when you're not flying, and I do appreciate that very much. I'm looking forward, as I know my mom is, to seeing who the next gen program is going to be this year. That usually starts around July and then around September is completed. And we have always a great group of young ladies and young gentlemen. All right, Chris is behind the scenes. And I just noticed that it's saying at the top that nobody's currently watching me, but I see the comments. So I know that it's glitching somewhere. So Ethan says, I missed your last live stream. My daughter Gwen wants to know when you're going to write kids' books about bees now since you're an author. Well, I've never really considered writing just a book in general. That honestly, Blake had the idea and had begun the project and then wanted me to join and asked me to. And that was really nice of him. And I did. So I didn't even really plan on writing a book as early as then, co-authoring rather. And of course, something like this I haven't gotten around to, but it would be fun. I'd have to really sit down and think about it. I guarantee you it would be funny because that's just naturally how I like to be. But maybe one day, if I stop actually keeping bees so much, I might do a little bit more of that kind of thing. I have several things I want to share with you all this evening. Some things that I've observed this spring that I think is going to really help me now and in the future, and I think might help some of you all as well. I want to say thanks to Clifford Montgomery, who has become a YouTube member as of today. And we have some exciting news on the Bee Expo dates and stuff. Chris, do you mind sharing this into the Cayman Reynolds group, or did we already do this earlier?
I did earlier.
Okay.
I didn't do a live one, but I can.
Sure. And maybe if we haven't already in the Bee Expo, maybe we drop that and wait a few minutes and let some people say, hey, we got some Bee Expo announcements to make or something like that. And I don't know.
Sounds good.
Just a thought. Whew. So it's busy bee season here. We haven't had a lot of rain. I know a lot of the country in this area is in a drought. We're in early stages of it. We did get about a half inch last week, but we could use a little bit more than that. On the flip side, I would rather have a little bit on the side of a drought with keeping bees than to have too much rain because the bees do appreciate the extra flying days. And in spring, a lot of the producers are trees, not all of them. And so the clover later on really benefits from some rain. But early on, the tulip poplars, the black locust, the privets that are a little bit later, the autumn olives that just finished up, and several of these small to large trees are much more drought resistant. And so it's not as big of a deal. Now, if you were mostly getting your honeys from shallow rooted crops, that would be a difference. But we definitely could use some rain. So let's talk a little bit about bees and what we're seeing right now. And let me tell you, I am fed up with double deep going in an excluder and then just throwing supers on top. It's not working well. So I have 2 honey production yards. I did 2 different things too. One of them, I had enough bake combs. And what that means is I had some honey left in some mediums. I run mediums for my honey. And I had some left over from last year, and it wasn't a lot. And most of these were only maybe 25% full, 10% full, a few being heavier than that. Ooh, nice hair came in. It's been a busy day. And so I used this to bait bees above the excluders, and it was amazing. It was like the bees didn't observe the excluder being there. And it's not like half of them did it. All of them did it. They did a really good job in that yard. But I only did it on one bee yard. I wish I'd have done it a little differently. The other one, I just took extracted supers that were dry. And so they're definitely getting comb. And I'm putting them on early too. It's not like, oh man, they're fixing a swarm, better put some supers on. We're putting this on before we get to that point. and they're taking this autumn olive nectar and they're putting in the very little above the excluder. And some of them are doing it, but the majority of them are wanting to, they're hitting that excluder and it's like a ceiling. So I've got drawn comb up there and they had time. It just become abundantly clear that that's the case. And I remember Bob Benny telling me that bees do a better job to an excluder with a single deep management, which is what we have been doing in the past, versus going back to double deeps like we have. And so it seems like he's very right. Imagine that. And so what I've decided is forget this. We use natural stuff like formic acid, oxalic acid. I'm not worried about what's built up in there, and I'm not treating with supers on anyways. And if I did, it would be a formic acid or an oxalic acid. But we typically don't treat much with supers on. Maybe if we see a colony or two, we might drop a pad of formic or something. The point I'm trying to make is I'm going to let next year, probably 2 weeks before the flow, I'm going to throw a medium on right above these strong doubles for honey production and let the queen go up there and lay for a week or two. I don't care. It's not worth trying to keep them from swarming because they're hitting the top of the brood nest and not going above the excluder. And I've seen it way too many times where once bees decide to go through the excluder, they go through it like it's not even there. So I do love having that, but I think I need to wait a little bit longer. Let the queen lay in there and have some boxes that are specifically marked. These are the brood boxes. And maybe after a few years of using them, 4 or 5 years, cycle those out. It's probably not even a problem other than they'll just get a little bit darker from allowing the queens to lay in there. And then all I have to do is after she's laid in there for 2 weeks or so, I could use a fume board and push her down, smoke it hard, and most of the time that'll push the queen down. Or I can just shake each frame down in there into the bottom brood chambers and then put an excluder on. But once you get them going through that excluder, it's fantastic. And so 1 yard is I'm having very little swarming tendency because they are just doing such a good job of putting stuff up into the honey supers. And then I have another yard where I just went through this last week and they were some of them wanting to swarm, but more importantly, I could see it coming. And they were just putting all their autumn olive honey in the second brood chamber and not putting it in the honey supers. So we just pulled a frame or two of honey, put in a couple of drawn deep combs for her to lay, and then just took the excluder off. And on a couple of them, what I did is I just put one medium below the excluder and left the other two or whatever it was above the excluder. And then I'll have some bait combs. Okay. That's kind of my thing for this week. One thing to watch out for, just FYI, if you do that and you do get brood in that medium and you want to get her back down into there, that's fine. But what you don't want to do is take then that brood, put it above the excluder, and then spread it out further away from the brood nest. If you take a medium or even a deep box, and then you put a couple empty boxes in between it and where the queen's laying and the other brood, they will raise queen cells up in there. Doesn't mean they're going to swarm, but I've done this in the past. And it's kind of almost the effect of what a double screen board does. There's a big enough gap. They don't fill the queen's presence. They raise supersedure cells. And one of two things are going to happen. Either one, you're going to get a virgin queen emerge out, and she is going to go and kill your queen, and then hopefully go mate and come back, and then you've got a queen, you're fine. Or sometimes I've had it where they've found another exit. They've gone out, left the queen lane, and then they've come back, and now you have two queens laying. But a lot of times that virgin's laying in the mediums, and you find that out later. So a little bit of a tidbit there. Maybe some of you aren't into honey production yet, but if you have a similar circumstance to that, maybe watch out for that. I did not have these issues back when I was doing single brood management. They would go through the excluders so well, but it was a very different system. And I think the bees they felt like they had to more because there was just such a tight space. The reason I've gone away from that is it does take a little bit more work to prep for it. I'm not all about just getting every bit of honey as much anymore as I'm trying to work on other projects. And the other, maybe the biggest reason is I don't like my bee bread going into the mediums because we don't get good pollens in June, July, and August here until late August if it's a good rainy year. And so if I lose a lot of pollen in the extracted frames, that's really bad for those colonies. They need that. It's more important than the honey, really. I can replace honey really easily. It's very difficult to replace healthy bee breads and pollen. So I want that second brood chamber just to so they have all the bee bread that they can have. Okay, that was my little my dealio to start it off with. I hope maybe that's helped a few people with swarming and all that stuff. Thanks everyone for coming on. I hope you have some questions. Keith says, oh, he's talking to somebody else. All right. So Hope says in South Carolina, blackberries are now blooming. We have a bunch of buds, but none of them are opened up yet. Cayman, you better let your wife edit that book. Of course. Hey, Clifford, I really do appreciate you becoming a member. And Laurel edits my life. I mean, not just the book. Oh, well, I'm glad you caught this swarm, Elizabeth. If you're keeping bees, you're sending some swarms off if they're healthy at all. And we've definitely shot some swarms off this year, and I've caught a bunch and missed a couple, and all kinds of different things. But yeah, we're trying to get ahead of them and all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of work this time of the year. Jed says double deeps are amazing. Stop whining. Well, I can't get him to go through the excluder. The double deeps are fantastic. I just can't get him to go through the excluder. Hey, I do appreciate you saying that. Thank you for coming all the way from Australia. We are being soaked up here. Bring some buckets. Yeah, for real. Is anybody else getting audio cut out? I haven't seen anybody else mention that, but it's possible. I have never put my bees on canola, but I have a couple of buddies that do it, a couple here in Tennessee, a couple further north, and then Ian in Canada. Everyone says the same thing. It just crystallizes so quickly. You want to get it out of the comb very fast. It's really good for if you're not trying to make honey off of it and you're trying to build bees, it's also really good for that, good pollens and stuff. So I don't know a lot about canola firsthand, but just what I hear from several buddies of mine. All right, good deal. Artemis is home. Would love your thoughts on flow hives for beekeepers that have a handful of hives. I think they're interesting. And if you are a good beekeeper and you want to have this, you definitely can have fun with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem I have with Flow Hive, and this is not just something unique to Flow Hive, there are other companies and some currently advertising heavily that it's just so easy. If you just get our equipment, everything's going to be so easy. And this product's going to make it so. Everyone else is doing it backwards. So the Flow Hive will only work if you have strong, healthy bees that accept the Flow Hive because it's plastic and bees are a little slow to accept plastic. And I have powerful flows. And in parts of Australia, there are very powerful flows as well. I have all my flow typically within 8 to 9 weeks. In that time period, if it's a good year, I can make 3 to 4, sometimes 5 medium supers of honey. So, definitely 2 deep supers in a good year. Well, a flow hive's not big enough for that. And it doesn't all come in at once. And you still need to be able to get into the hive, keep them from swarming. You still need to be able to check and make sure that that honey is ripened all the way. And so the management is still there. The other problem that I have with it is oftentimes I pull my honey towards the end of the flow just all at once, and that's just part of my management. And then I have a robbing period here in 2 months. And so I would have to make sure I would get that emptied before it started robbing or it'd be a problem. So there's definitely nothing inherently wrong with it. I don't like the way that they marketed it. I think it was a little dishonest, and it's expensive for what it is. You can buy an extractor that'll last you a very, very long time. So, but it definitely is neat. And I've seen them. I have buddies that use them and they enjoy them. So it can be fascinating and not practical at the large scale, or maybe even for certain small scale beekeepers as well. But there's definitely nothing wrong with it. Cayman, what's your opinion on making starters and then dropping in grafts 10 to 13 versus 24 hours later? Does that affect the success? So I prefer on making starters a good bit beforehand. You can totally do it 10 to 13 hours versus 24. But if you do it a little bit earlier, it's all the more important that you have plenty of nutrition in there. You need to have feed on them immediately, pollen and nectar, or sugar syrup rather. Even if there's a little bit of a flow, you've just made a split, you've disrupted everything. Get that nutrition pumping in there, an excess amount of bees. And whether it's at 10 hours or 24 hours, the second graft usually does better because they're already in the mode of making royal jelly. And so if you wait long enough for them to start making royal jelly for even emergency, it does help with the takes. It can still work. I just find it's worth a little bit more extra time to let them go ahead and have a frame of larvae that they can start raising royal jelly on, and then yank that out and then put your grafts in because they're already in the production mode of that royal jelly. And you can even swipe that royal jelly with a little, grafting tool or a little spoon or whatever you want to use. And you can, a dropper works really good. You can go 1-to-1 ratio of distilled water to royal jelly and use a dropper and just go bloop in each single JZBZ cup or whatever cups you're using. And that makes it a lot easier to drop the larvae as well. So I have found over time that it's worth waiting a little bit, but I have done it the other way and I've had success with it too. Oh, thank you very much, Brian, for the happy anniversary. Yeah, it's 15 years yesterday, and it's been awesome. Definitely been a lot more challenging, not Laurel, but just being an adult and trying these businesses. And we definitely haven't made choices that would make things extra easy. But that's what, I really respect and love about Laurel is she's seen and done so many hard things and still loves me for it and still looks into the distance and the mountains still to climb and still goes, let's hike those together. So what more could you ask for? I am going to be selling some bees in May. So where I'm at right now, a bee closet is I've got another pickup in April, the 25th. I've got to make sure that I get that completely taken care of. And then I likely will have anywhere between 15 to 30 extra nukes once it's all said and done, and possibly some singles. I really need to sell some hives. I'm currently sitting at about 120 more hives right now than I want to have. And that's keeping me a lot busier than I need to be. So I'm going to be selling a lot of stuff. Okay. Best way to keep bees in a hive when you move them: 1/8 inch hardware cloth over entrance, safe to move during the day. Thanks. So, heat is one of the biggest issues with moving bees. You can overheat them. They need to be able to have plenty of airflow. If it's a hot day, it's even more risky. It's a good way to kill bees. So in the evenings, great. If it's a cold evening, I love moving bees when it's like 30 degrees, 20 degrees. They just don't want to come out very much. So if you can get a cool evening, that's great. Sometimes you can't though. An 1/8 inch hardware cloth over the entrance is a really good idea. What I would recommend if you have some cheap, like those straps, just strap it together so nothing slides off. And now you can accidentally bump into it, whatever, and you're not going to have boxes falling onto the ground or anything like that. So strap it together, make sure there's plenty of ventilation, and the cooler the better. But yeah, 1/8 inch hardware cloth works good. All right. Rylan Pena, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Thanks for donating to our chat tonight. And any recommendations, he asks, on a faster way to extract honey for a hobby beekeeper? Well, unfortunately, these things usually cost money. Doesn't everything that's speeds things up? You know, the most affordable way is a good quality bread knife. And what I would recommend is once you have drawn combs, if you already do, go to 8 frames in your supers. And that's just going to make them so fat and they're so much easier to uncap. And just take that bread knife and just slice it down there. You can use a hot knife, and those work good too. But if you're going to do that, get a Pierce. They're still made in the USA. Man Lake now owns the company, but the previous owner still oversees all the manufacturing, or at least goes there and contributes to that, making sure things are kept up to snuff. But those are expensive. If you get a cheaper hot knife, I don't think you're going to have a very good experience. The hot knife just really has to be really precise. But if you want to keep it cheap, a bread knife is great. So you want to be able to uncap quickly. So you need fat combs. 8 frames in a 10 frame box really helps with that, so that you don't have to do very much scratching at all, and you just slice that off. And the reason the knife is better, the knife is way better than scratching it off or any of the uncappers, in my opinion, that just make a ton of wax debris, is because then that goes and clogs all your filters up. So if you're using a bucket filter, then it's just going to clog all that up. If you use a knife, you've eliminated 95% at least of the wax that's going to be going through your bucket filter, and that's going to slow your whole process down. I do not like machines or tools that make a bunch of little pieces of wax. There are ways to deal with that, but then you're going to need to have an area where your honey can settle and all the wax can float to the top, and then you pour out of the bottom. For a hobby beekeeper, a lot of these extra tools isn't helpful. So in my opinion, a knife is the way to go. So your filtration goes quickly. I say filtration, your straining goes quickly. A good extractor is nice. And, obviously the bigger the extractor, the more you can sling. But the main thing for small beekeepers is that wax issue in that bucket strainer, if you're using a bucket strainer, because it goes in your extractor and then you've got all this slurry coming out of there and it just clogs it up so quickly. It's a massive pain in the rear. Maybe let me know, Rylan, what you feel like are the bottlenecks for you on your extracted honey. So, Bonnie, I do think it will, but it may be positive or it may be negative depending on how dry it is. Um, I've actually found over the last 10 years, drier years give me bigger yields. But I'm sure there's a balance there too. Too dry and it's a problem. I had some wax moths hit one of my honey frame storage areas. How much damage is tolerable, or are they trash now? If it's just a little bit of damage, so a handful of tunnels through there, maybe a small patch here and there, as long as the foundation is still good and the bees can build off of it, it's fine. Maybe send me a couple pictures of it, Clifford. Um, caymansbees@gmail.com. That's an easy way to do that. All right. Let's see here. 8 frame excluder on a 10 frame queen still went up. Yep. Oh, well, I'm glad you got it figured out, Gigi. The technology, it's so consistent. Uh-oh, this poor soul got a nuke from the dirt rooster. Those are going to be some weird bees. They might be good bees, but they're going to be weird. There's no doubt. Okay, let's get to some questions here. Some more. I'm just kind of going through them. Would $600 be a good price for a functional Maxent 20 frame extractor around 10 years old? That is a fantastic price, Hope. I would buy that personally. Uh, the thing's not going to lose value. Maxent is a well made US extractor. And I've seen Maxent extractors that are older than I am that are still working. So I think you could use it for a while and then, 5 years you need to upgrade or you decide to do something different, you're still going to be able to get your $600 out of that. I think that's a great price. Have a few swarm traps that I kept the bees in too long. What's a good way to cut the excess comb off of the bottom of the frames to insert into new frames? So, of course, a sharp knife is a good place to start. They make some large rubber bands that you can purchase that help with that and tying them into some frames. You can use wooden frames. One of the things that I'll say is that the Apame frames are really nice about this, where you have different squares within the frame. It's easier to tie in smaller pieces. And the Apame frames, it's really nice to have a few of those sitting around just for any cutout situation where you want to save some brood or something. But some rubber bands and a sharp knife, that's the only way I know how to do it. Just make sure that you get the comb oriented the correct direction. The hexagons and the cells go up at, I think it's around a 15-degree angle, and bees do not like it if you put that upside down. Yeah, the bucket strainer was a big bottleneck for me when I was doing it with the capping scratcher, and also we tried years ago the Harmony. I never can remember the darn name. It's too many words. The spaghetti roller on capper, and I know some people like that. I just didn't. It made such a mess of the wax, and then it fixed one problem on the front end, but it creates another problem on the back end. I'm a huge fan of knives. I'm not saying that fits everybody, but the strainer is a big problem. And if you don't have a strainer problem because you have very little coming through your extractor, oh man, it's so much faster. Oh yeah, well, here in Tennessee, autumn olive blooms usually around the Fool's Day, and we definitely have been getting some good autumn olive coming in. Let's see here. And we've had a good start to our season. If I could just get them to go through the excluders in that one yard, I'd be happier. Jeremy says, my teenage daughter currently has 35 hives. She would like to reduce the number of hives she manages to 20. Besides selling, what would you recommend? Well, you could use soapy water and just kill them. But make sure you use the organic soap. It'd be a shame to kill bees with non organic soap. Um, Sorry, Jeremy, I can't help myself. Honestly, selling's the only good option that I can think of, unless you want to give them to somebody. If you're just like, hey, there's some other young people who would like to get into bees that we know about or something, maybe you could do that. But personally, I recommend selling them and put that money towards what you've already invested into them. Or maybe she'd like a tool or something that'll help her manage the 20 better. But yeah, selling to me or giving them away is the only thing I can think of, other than just letting them go hog wild. And you're going to be sending swarms off, and it could cause mites to explode in those and cause problems. So I would get rid of them, sell them. You want to just get that gone and be able to focus doing a really high quality job with 20. And you can do a lot with 20 hives of bees, a ton, literally a ton of honey in a good year. Cayman, or can you explain how to tell if an area is in a strong nectar flow? What signs do you look for? Well, I mean, you can see the weight gains. If you're, I'm getting to my colonies fairly often, so you can see the difference over time. These yards produce better, and it does take some time. But I'm also looking for the plants that I know contribute the most. Is there a lot of tulip poplars, or is there a lot of wild blackberry? Is there a lot of privet and autumn olive? I don't know what you have where you're at, Lisa, but definitely be looking for those key players that you already know about and see if it's a good location for that. It's amazing the difference sometimes in a good bee yard. Up here at my house is just not as good. I get 2 weeks less flow here typically than my other yards that are in the low country. And so it's just 2 weeks is a big deal. 2 weeks is a honey super. And in the fall, it doesn't perform as good either. It's easier to keep bees in those other areas. So there's no easy way to say that other than try to get around and look around for the forage, and it's kind of fun. It can take some time though. Thank you for being one of our members, Lisa, and being a part of this group for a long time. Bees in the Abyss. Cayman, when trying to get comb drawn, when should a second super be put on, or should I just exchange frames in the same box? Hey, man, when that first super starts getting drawn and you've got 2 or 3 going, put on that other box. You've got a strong hive below. You're not going to hurt them throwing on another box of foundation. And go ahead and pull one of those partially drawn ones up into that other box and just keep moving things around over time. You want to get that comb drawn, and the bees are so much better about doing it in the center than they are at the edges of the boxes. And you don't need to be getting with your honey supers like, oh, we've got 7 frames drawn. Maybe we should throw our next one on. Nope. They should already be working on it at that point. It's going to be plenty warm enough. This is a powerful colony or they wouldn't be doing this. Stay ahead of it. Yeah, heated knife is great. I really like the Pierce knife. It is more expensive. There's guys that have had them working for 30 to 40 years and then sent them in and got them worked on again, and they still work because they're made in America. They're nice, but they're expensive. But if you get the fat combs, a cold knife, a really high quality cold knife, which Pierce does make a cold knife too, but a high quality bread knife will also work. You can just cut that right off. Your wax is gone. Sling that puppy out, and it goes through that strainer so well. And keeping things warm too. If you're in a warm room where it's 90 degrees, everything flows faster, extracts faster, it goes through strainers quicker, everything's easier in a hotter room, other than you not sweating, perspiring. I can't say that word today. Yeah, give those bees to Cayman. I hear he needs more. Heck no. Central Alberta, no swarming for a bit. I would say so. Well, you guys have had a winter up there, so I hope you guys have a good season, have a really good flow, and all that kind of stuff. And that's the closest someone's spelled my name in a while. Most people can't get it right, so you almost got it close. Just one little tweak or two. Silver River sweet clover. I was reading a little bit about it and consider. I've never heard of that. I'm going to look into that. So I'm looking to plant Hubam, Hubam. It is supposed to be a sweet clover that produces the year that you plant it. And so I have, of course, this dearth period. My plan is to have that in the ground in May so that it will produce during my dearth period and provide pollen and nectar. And I'm going to put this in the yard. I'm going to have my splits, and these are my backup colonies for my production hives. And so they'll be weaker and they'll definitely need a boost. And so it'll be perfect for them. Okay, Central New York. Yeah, I mean, I would think you'd be able to sell those. Maybe put an ad in a local Facebook group, B group, or some of your local bee clubs. Someone's looking for local bees or something like that. Of course, there's Facebook Marketplace. That works pretty good. What's the smallest swarm you've caught? I've caught a lot of them in summer, and they send off these tiny swarms that have no chance I just caught one that's around 1 to 2,000 bees. It barely covers one full frame. How fast can they grow during a strong flow? Well, they can't grow very fast, but they can grow. And you can get a small one like that and maybe have enough season to get it established enough to where it can go through the rest of the year. Starting now is a good time to start. If you're going to have it, now's the time. Most of the time I see one that small, it's in summer, and there's just no hope in a dearth period of getting those to size and overwintering them unless you give them some brood. So maybe unknown character 4680. If you have another colony that has maybe too much brood and you like to pull them back a little bit from swarming, find a frame or two of emerging brood, and it's emerging that day. You can see it happening, and that'll give them a massive boost. And keep the feed to them, and that'll help. Yeah, watching the foragers heavy with nectar crash land on approach. Yeah, you can definitely see them. They fly in a lot slower. Hey, Sean, thanks for being one of our members and the official coffee of the North American Honeybee Expo. And might as well be mine. That's all I pretty much drink. So, unless I'm out somewhere. Cayman, do you still have copies of your book left? Sorry if you've already answered this tonight. Just got off of work. You don't work. Don't even. You're texting Chris too often to work. So, all jokes aside, yes, the book is for sale. It is on thebeesupply.com. Blake is handling all that with his company, The Bee Supply. And I think eventually there's going to be some other places distributing it, and it may be on Amazon. But that's the balls in their court. That was a deal. They wanted to handle that, and I did not want to handle that. So works out good. Well, that's perfect. Then she's ready to go. Make some money. And maybe get a bigger extractor or something. Unfortunately, I don't have any beekeeper t-shirts up right now, but I hope to soon. We're fixing to make a transition here. And once this nuke season is over, things are going to change. I have used a heat gun before. I don't really like it. It's too slow. But it can work. So that's just my personal opinion. I also like recovering the wax. I enjoy using the wax for projects and or selling it. And so when I cut it off, I get a lot more wax that way as opposed to a heat gun. So heat gun can work, but I definitely like getting the wax, and I like actually cutting it all the way down the same depth and getting that, because some of them get a little bit too fat in areas, and I like to get that all trim and back the same way to start the next season. Rather than bait super, can you put a queen excluder between deeps brood boxes with the queen in the bottom for a week or two, and then move the queen excluder above the top deep? You could try that. I think what's going to really pull them up into there is that nothing works better than the queen. Obviously, we don't want that. Now, your method may work. Maybe they won't, because the excluder's not above them and they're already going through that one box. Maybe they won't treat it like it's a ceiling. I don't really know, to be honest. One of the advantages of having all of your frames the same size is you don't have to worry about this so much. So back when we were doing all deep frames and deep boxes, I didn't have this issue. There's always a frame of honey in the brood nest. I would just take one of those or two, pull it above the excluder, and they just go right through the darn thing. But I kept throwing my back out with it, and it was not good on anybody else that was helping me, Laurel, to handle the deeps. And so we went back to mediums, but then that created this problem, this conundrum. And so maybe give it a try, Mark, and let me know. Hey, Cayman, I've been grafting every day or two. I only have 120 mini mating nukes. I'm about to be swimming in queens and have no pre-cells or even a solid plan. What am I going to do with all of these queens? Well, that sounds like an awesome spot to be in. Congratulations. You are queen rich. So if you don't need them yourself, and it doesn't sound like you do, reach out to your bee clubs and just say, hey, these are going to be done at this date. And, whatever you feel like you need to charge for a cell and get them gone. The problem of it is there's going to have to be some education. There's a lot of hobby beekeepers and new beekeepers that don't know how to handle a queen cell. Of course, they need to be ripe, probably a day, no more than 2 days away from emerging. You want a tough cell. They also have to know to be careful with it. Don't let it get, too cold, too hot. Don't jostle it around really hard or anything. So there has to be that whole transportation side of it. Or maybe you take it to a place and then they take it from there back to their apiaries. But then they have to set up a split and then know how to properly do that. That's the problem with queen cells is there's education. I absolutely love queen cells. To me, they're so much more valuable many times than buying a queen because I've saved so much money. I can fix some colonies that can't be fixed with a queen with a cell. Like they'll accept a cell and let that virgin emerge out and then accept that queen, where sometimes I can't get them to take a good mated queen. It's frustrating. So I don't know what to do with that necessarily other than make more splits, but that is an awesome spot to be in. Congratulations. I have a colony that decided to replace its queen. Can I take out capped queen cells and put a few capped ones in from a better queen? You can. If you've got some capped ones from a better queen that are ready to go and you want to take out the other ones because you don't really like the genetics, then that totally makes sense. And it's a good idea. Okay. Rylan, thanks again. Uncapping is my bottleneck. Using an uncapping tool is taking me forever. Any thoughts on a roller or the double roller? Uh, yeah, so that's the kind of the problem is the rollers can work fairly quickly and they can work a little bit, faster than a knife or something like that. And it's not as rough on your wrist doing a lot of cutting with the knife. The problem with the rollers is you're going to have all this wax. Every single one of them just tears the wax up and just mulches it. And that becomes a problem for you later on. So if you're going to do that, Ryland, then you need to have a settling tank. And so that it goes, let's say you're doing 20 gallons of honey. And you do that and you put it all in one tank, but then do you have that? Do you have a sump? Or do you have a pump? That's the trick with that. And so what you can do is if you have a settling tank for this, or I guess you could put it in buckets. If you're not doing that much, you could just put it in buckets, no strainer. That'd be fine. And you're just going to come back and then you're just going to scoop the wax off the top after a day or two of it all floating to the top. And you could do that instead. However, if you leave that in there and there's still some debris that you miss, it will increase the speed of which your honey crystallizes if it likes to do that. But that's what you could do is create a bunch of mini, essentially, settling tanks and then just let the wax float to the top. The rollers are faster. Has anyone here tried some of the new uncapping stuff from Hilco? I know they're working on another model or so, but they have the roller uncapper one out that's supposed to be nice. I actually haven't seen it work in person. For this latest edition they're working on, I think it's more of a knife style, but I'm kind of out of the loop right now on the new technology there. Matt, thanks for being one of our members. Thoughts on a single deep brood box and then medium supers? Hey, I like it, Matt. The thing of it is you have to set them up just right. There's a couple of videos on there online that you can watch on it. I have a couple. Devin Ron has maybe one of the best ones. I think the University of Guelph has one. Ian Stepler talks about it. It's all about setting things right, though. You don't want too much brood. We were cutting them back to about 4 really good frames of brood, 5 if we felt like it wasn't solid frames of brood. We would remove some of their honey, and then we would put some drawn combs in there, and we would make a split with all the rest of it. So we took a really strong split off of it, put a queen excluder on there, and then supered up, and that worked really good. I just don't want to make that many splits anymore. And I also did lose a lot of bee bread to my medium supers. But does it work? Absolutely. Some of the best honey producers use that method. The problem of it is when you're done, if you're like me and you hit a dearth period, it would be June and I'd pull my honey supers. And now I've got this single that is about 3 deeps worth of bees. It's massive. And so I have got to give them space, and I've got to feed them, more importantly, immediately. I'm not talking a day later, 2 days later. If you pull those honey supers off, you feed them within 24 hours at the latest. Because if it's a dearth period, there's just not enough food. They don't store any honey in the bottom box to speak of because they can't. So it's brewed down in there and it's some bee bread, and that's about it. And that's part of the problem too, is the bee bread goes up top and you've just taken all the honey. Now, so you have this powerful colony of bees, and what we were doing, and this is why I have so many darn drawn combs sitting around, too much of it really, is as soon as the flow was over, we'd strip all the supers off, pull the excluder, and then we would put a box of foundation in there, and we would pull up a frame of eggs, and we would feed like 4 gallons in a week, and then we come back the next week and feed strong again, and we would just keep feeding them, and they would draw that box out, and then if we wanted to, we would draw another one. It was very easy to get them to draw 2 deep boxes like that. So you can get a lot of combs that way. Single brood management is an intense system and totally works, but you've got to get it. It's kind of like a race car. You've got to really have everything tuned nicely if you want to win the race. Otherwise, you're going to hit the wall. You know, some people have mentioned using like some of those electric turkey knives to cut through there. Some of those guys say those work pretty good. I haven't tried one of those, but maybe that would be an easier way of using a knife if you're not wanting to go the roller method. It's just pros and cons, Rylan, pros and cons. Okay. Cayman, how many hives do you have now? Also, did you like the Apame hives? Yes, I did like those hives. I have 26 of them. 27. And as far as how many hives that I have, 200 and something right now. And we've pulled back. I'm trying to pull back even more. I want to be down to 60 honey production colonies and maybe make a handful of splits. You know, I like to have about 20-ish backup nukes. And these are my backup queens, they're my backup whatevers. And if I need them, I have them on hand to fix any of my production colonies. I'm going to try to gear back that far. That's what I'd like to do. We just have a lot of things going on with the new YouTube channel, with what we're wanting to do with the Expo, and several other things. But the Apame hives are great hives. I've had them now for 5 years. Power wash them. They clean up great. A little bit of bleach. Durable. Very, very, very tough. And just a great, great hive. If you're going to do an insulated hive, a plastic style as well, they're great. And they're easy to move. They lock into each other. They stack super well. So good hive. Let's see. So Jed just sent me a dealio about a honey creamer. So you got your honey creamer going, a 25-gallon creaming machine. Well, that's cool. You need to have Keith send me, or Kevin Monfelt send me a picture of one of his things in action. Jed's the guy with Thorn Manufacturing that builds a lot of the wax dippers and wax melters and extractors and things at our show. I've been interested in getting a honey creamer for a while, and he just sent it over to me. Honestly, and that's where a lot of us need to be, is getting the premium honeys, creamed honey, small batches of honey. It's a good way to do it. All right, I'll get back to some questions here in just a second. Chris, do you want to run us down a little bit on the Bee Expo stuff? Do you want to do that now, or maybe wait a couple minutes? What are you thinking?
That's up to you. I mean,
Well, I
I
asked
pushed
you, so
something out.
now it's up to you. The ball is in your court.
I pushed something out about 40 minutes ago. We can talk about it if you'd like. How deep, dark of secrets would you like me to talk about?
Oh, you know me. I don't keep them.
Okay, perfect. So we can announce we have a contract. We have a multi-year contract signed with the Kentucky Expo Center. This year's dates are January 7th, 8th, and 9th. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it's the same weekend. It's the second weekend of January.
And we're going all day Thursday. Woo.
All day Thursday. Yep. All day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday. So we have some really cool other things that I will not name, but I will tell you just one quick thing, because the people who are tuned in here are some of the Bee Expo and your biggest fans, and I just kind of want to just touch on one thing. Part of this negotiation and contract discussion is a large part of discussing, like being able to prove, who we are, and doing that through, we'll call it just the proper channels, just to keep things super simple. And so, Jerome Bee Farm. I already booked my hotel. That's great. But the problem, though, is that all the people who book outside of our allotted block actually harms the Bee Expo and our ability to get bigger and better things from the local economy. So I would ask, that if you haven't booked a hotel yet and you would like to support us in that way, booking through our room blocks, which will be available soon. There will be plenty of rooms available. We have more rooms at the Crown than we've ever had. We have more rooms at every other hotel as well. And those will be on sale day one of the tickets. So again, we ask that you help us, help you guys by allowing Louisville Tourism and the other groups to kind of know who we are. And that's through booking through the hotels, telling them how many tickets we purchase, all that kind of stuff. That helps us to get better pricing through. Yeah, Jerome, I'm not just picking on you. I'm just again, thank you though for coming. We're excited people want to come.
Well, I'll just say this. This is something kind of new. We're learning as we're running these things, and one of the big issues that we like to keep it simple. You guys know me. I don't keep any secrets from anybody, and that's part of what gets me in so much trouble with my mouth is I speak before I think sometimes. But I like to keep it simple. I've never done a whole lot of like, hey, you got to answer these questions in order to get your ticket. But we keep getting, whether it's the tourism, whether it's the Expo Center, whether it's someone who wants to maybe work with us in Louisville, and that could bring value to the show, not just monetarily, but assets to the show. They want to know numbers. They want to know how many people are we pulling from out of the state? How many people are going, are we bringing into the hotels? And that really helps the show out. It's kind of a ridiculous way. I think it's over the top and silly, but it's how the game is played. And we're trying to play it as best that we can so that we can get better discounts. Honestly, we're trying to get better hotel pricing, and if we can show that we're doing a lot more for them than what they realize, then it just makes it easier for us to get better pricing and gives us more leverage. Honestly, it just gives us a lot more leverage, and that's what we need because we're a smaller conference. And I want to give Chris a thank you, big thank you, because Chris has been working on this since before the show, and he's been working on it devilishly hard since the show. And it's just been difficult. Like I said, we need leverage. Also, things have changed. They wanted to raise the price significantly on us, and they did. Chris was still able to do much better than what they originally had gone for. And I do appreciate that significantly. But what it's become abundantly clear that we need to start playing this game at a higher level. Chris is helping us do that. But we're going to ask you all, if you're going to come, maybe go through the room block. That would help us out a lot. It would really help us out and long term be able to get us not just better pricing on hotels, but also more opportunities for everybody. And the more information that we have, the more we can leverage possibly sponsors from outside of the industry, which is really where we need to go next because it's, this year the cost for the rooms went up like 50 something percent. So that's a big jump. And they went up last year too, but just not that much.
To clarify, you're talking the Expo Hall rooms, not the hotel rooms.
Yeah, not the hotel rooms. Yeah, thank you, Chris. Yeah, so the Expo decided they wanted to make more money, and so they did. But we need more leverage in order to show that we're bigger than what the numbers are saying that we are, because we are. So, anyways, there's just a lot to it. That's our angle on it. We do appreciate it, but we understand that people have points and various things too. But we have plenty of hotel rooms. Chris has worked really hard to make that a lot easier. The Crown was a blast this last year, and they've got it really nice. We booked pretty much the entire thing. It was mostly just beekeepers, and that's what we'd like to do again. That's going to be our host hotel. That's where all the VIPs are going to be, and we're going to just continue to take it up another level. So maybe we'll see you at that hotel. Chris, back to it on your updates and stuff. Sorry.
No, you're fine. Yeah, no, we're really excited. We have some really, really, really cool things to announce, but we're not going to announce those today. Just we do know people want to book, and not everyone books at the hotel, and so if you're trying to get a VRBO or a rental, that's the word I was looking for. If you're trying to get a rental, we understand those are a little competitive in the city. So again, that's January 7th, 8th, 9th. And you will be seeing the website go through quite a transformation in the next month or so. I would say right now we're on track to have our tickets go live along with the hotels in May. I won't give a exact time yet. We're working on that, but yeah, Gigi, we will have updates on the website, and something to, again, we understand that you all in the industry, at our industry at large, are not people who love to sign up for every newsletter and throw their information out willy-nilly. But I will say that this past year was very, very, and I'm not whining here, I'm just telling you facts. This year was very difficult to get information out. Facebook changed algorithms, so our groups didn't work as well. Yeah. YouTube changed its algorithm, so that didn't get out well. Not everyone goes to the website, and not everyone goes to the app. And there's no blame to go here. It's just things have changed. So one thing we're going to heavily hit this year is we're going to, in addition to everything else, we're going to include a lot of emails. So what we're going to have on the website soon is the ability to sign up for it's not going to be a daily or a weekly email. As we get closer, it'll be, every 2-3 weeks, every month. And as we get closer and as news continues to roll out, we will continue to have more and more emails. Again, it will not be daily or anything crazy, but we will be able to provide directly to your inbox updates on everything going on at the Bee Expo. So the sign up for that will be on the website in the coming weeks. As I redo the website, we're going to have a newsletter sign up. So I would highly encourage you to sign up there, as again, like it just is what it is with the Facebook and Facebook groups and everything. Some years it's great, some years it's not. So, we do have the app coming back this year. We did hear everyone's feedback on that. Paul, hotel block going to work with us.
Well, yeah,
yes.
we'll get to that in a second. You're talking information, and the emails don't do a good job either. Like we can see, like we've purchased MailChimp, and we've done everything that we can to make sure we get as many emails to folks. But you all have emails that view us a lot of times as spam. It's going to people's promotions. Sometimes it's going to your spam folder.
Yep.
And there's nothing that we can do about that. We have spent the money to make it do that as little as possible, and we're still trying to do it as best we can. But your emails are programmed to keep advertisements out, and that's what it views us as. So some of you get it, some of you don't. The website and the is the number one source of information. And then Chris is integrating the app into it, and we're going to be taking the app up another level this year, and that'll be more available and reliable at an earlier stage. That last year was our first year with it, and we're going to be able to do a lot more with it. So just of course, our live chats are going to be every other Friday, and we'll be talking here. And so most of you all that are on this live, you kind of know how it works. So it's if you're have a buddy that's maybe it's their first time, or maybe that tech and them are kind of like oil and water. Maybe just remind them to check the website every now and then, because a lot of the stuff is on there, and people aren't surfing it. And there's a lot of information. I know it's a lot, but it's there. Chris does a really good job of it. So Jed says he wants a handwritten mail letter once per week. Well, not all of us are from Podunk, Wisconsin, Jedediah.
I didn't know they delivered mail all the way up there.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes they have to get the sleighs out and the reindeer.
Well, besides, he says he's too busy to like take a phone call, so I'm guessing he's too busy to open a piece of mail. So
I don't know. I haven't talked to
that.
Jed in a while, which it's probably why I've been able to, like, my stress loads have gone way, way down. So Paul, is the hotel block going to work with us that come in on Wednesday? Absolutely. Last year there were some things. Chris has really got things on lockdown. I'm putting the pressure on you, Chris, but no, he really does. And we impressed, because last year was the first year we did Louisville tourism. And that's just kind of how the game is played. Louisville tourism keeps a lot of the information. This gives us a lot of leverage, because it's kind of like a report card. This is how well we did. And so we had been doing that good in the past. We just didn't have someone like Louisville tourism saying it. And so already we're seeing beneficial things from that. This year, Chris has got plans to make that work even better. It's going to make it to where we can get more of what we want, more deals for us, and be able to have more opportunities for things. And it should make it a lot easier. And I apologize. We're still learning some stuff, but Chris has got all this figured out, don't you, Chris? You got this.
Yep. And Paul, too, I was just looking through. We do have 3 contracts currently for hotels so far. We'll have a lot more. But all of them have days from Wednesday through Saturday nights. So if you or anyone else wants to come in and have a problem with that, just reach out to us. We'll make it work. We'll reach out to that group and loop you in. But I know that, for instance, the Crown, and I can only speak to the Crown because we work directly with them. Everyone else, we work through Louisville Tourism and them. But I know the Crown will have nights available starting Monday night through at least Sunday night, if not Monday night as well. So if you are interested in that, and if you don't know, if you guys are unfamiliar, the Crown Plaza is one of the largest hotels in Louisville. And it's right across, like walking stoplight away from the Expo Center. So, Matt, great question.
Chris, you could just pull your face onto here, unless you're, unless you're not in a shirt or something. Are you in your boxers?
No. I got fully clothed. We actually are already in talks
good
with them on how to fix some of the issues we had last year. And so
did they get rid of the people that were doing it last year?
Yeah. So without throwing anyone under the bus, basically we came in at this.
What are you talking about?
With this, this crazy time where they were handing it off to somebody else, and then we were like literally in the middle. And so I think that played a part of it. So I will say, in terms of the quality of the food and the selection of the food, I think we have a lot of options there. The expense of the food is something I think that just you're at an entertainment event, and I'm not going to defend them. Yes, the prices are expensive, but
Yeah.
I don't know how much we can do with the pricing. My goal would be that the food is actually what you purchase is beyond just edible. It's good. You
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Well, that
And the lines are shorter. We're working on those two things really as our big thing. I'll just eat at the honey bar. There you go.
it's gonna go to a honeycomb. That's a lot of energy. Well,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of say in this. They get the food vendors that they get, and we're trying to do things a little bit differently. But we can only, at the end of the day, if they just say no, we're not going to let you do that, then the answer is no.
Yep.
And when I went to like Apple Monday over in Denmark, it was like hot dogs and some wraps and stuff like that. And it took me a while to figure out, how much it was in American money, real dollars. Um, but it was not cheap over there. And it was a hot dog, but our hot dogs were expensive there. And I don't like it. But then again, you go to a baseball game, you go to, a theme park or a football game or whatever. It's just the
And
way
live
that
at
it
the
is. So
Masters.
it's kind of a bummer. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's not a lot we can do. It would be
Yeah.
awesome if we could get some food trucks or something, but we'll just have to see if we can
Yeah.
try that.
Thank you for bringing that up, Matt. That is real high on our priority to have discussions. So we even have some discussions about bringing in not just more vendors or different vendors, but bring in outside vendors. So I will make no promises on that yet, but that is definitely. I had a meeting on this Monday. I had a meeting on this Monday with actually kind of the whole team. So popcorn balances out. Yeah, I mean, like I do think a lot of the blame goes on this like weird thing. We were working with a company that was there for a short time. They were technically already out, but because we started before, the other company didn't start. It was a
Yeah.
whole mess.
Well, we used to work with Levy, and then there was
Yep.
like a few months before the show, they kind of did yeah, we'll get these guys to kind of fill in between, and oh, they filled in between all right,
Yeah.
like
So
a turd sandwich. Um,
yeah, we're working on it. So.
it was terrible, and but we survived yet another year of chaos, Chris, and we're stupid enough to do it again. So uh,
At
this
least
year
for a
we've
couple
already.
more years.
Yeah, we've already had chaos this year, so hopefully it's already out of our system and it's done for the year. I just jinxed
Yeah.
it. Knock on wood. Ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's going to be great. Chris is that last year was Chris's first year with us, and he did a great job. But now he's got that under his belt. He's got more relationships underway. We've learned a lot more, and so yeah, this is going to be the best year ever.
Yeah.
And I have some really interesting ideas. I haven't even run by Chris yet.
Perfect. Let's share
Um,
those outside meeting.
oh,
Not
come on. It'll be great.
workshop them here.
Yeah,
God.
hey guys, let's have a
Somebody's gonna get
discussion on
married
these
to that
new
idea.
ideas on the Bee Expo. What do you think of this? We can call them
Costco.
demographic gatherings. How about
Yeah.
that?
There you go. The Costco hot dog and a drink for $1.50. There you go.
Hey, now hey, honestly, those aren't bad for $1.50. I mean, they're not like some high quality hot dog, but for $1.50, I'll eat garbage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm
So
like,
we're
go ahead.
we're excited about that. We have a lot of things. Drop the ideas now. For on the vendor side, we do have some vendors in chat. We learned a lot of things last year. Move in, move out, layouts, different layouts. So we're definitely excited about all that. I think that the multiple forklifts we had in there really helped everybody out as well. Of course, like the honey bar will be back. So we have lots of great things coming up. My list is long, but like I said, just to summarize, the website will be getting an overhaul. So what'll happen is, for those of you who watch the videos and stuff, I'll probably just have like just the links on a homepage, a fake homepage made up, and then in the background where no one can see it, I'll be working on everything else, and then it's cheese curds, and then and then it's gonna I think everybody's gonna really like the new website. We have some really cool things gonna come from that and go
So
from there. So
the Expo does not allow that for us, even us that are paying for the privilege of renting their building to bring stuff in. And so, um, well, I mean, I guess they have let us bring in muffins and coffee. We just have to shell out a few $1,000s, for that, thousands. But no, I mean, so, but you go outside and there's table. If it's a nice day, there's some tables you could eat out there. You could eat in your car. There are restaurants nearby, but if you don't want to take the time away from the show, that's the way I get about it. It's like there's the same way in Denmark. I'm like, I know I could find a better restaurant nearby, but I don't want to, have to find a restaurant and be gone for an hour. That's a chance I could be talking to a vendor or maybe get to meet the speaker that I wanted to get to meet. Again, we wish we could have the best thing. I'm with Pat Gooch. I'm willing to pay good money for good food.
yep.
But it kind of is hard, shelling out $12 for a slice of garbage pizza.
Yep.
But
Unfortunately,
it is what
we
it is.
can't go in and taste test this. We just get a menu.
Yeah.
Hey, here's what this place offers. I'm like, well, there's good versions of a ham and bologna sandwich, and there's a bad version. So, yeah, Gigi, I'm not sure if DoorDash delivers into the KEC, but I know that you walking in with something like that, and if the right person sees it, they won't be thrilled. So.
I'm going to grab this real quick and we'll
Yep,
get right
of
back
course.
to the Expo. I have a question on a first year hive that has made it through winter small. How much brood should I be seeing in Tennessee in mid-April to get my first honey harvest this year? Quite a bit of brood. I'm seeing in my honey production colonies, 8 frames of brood and sometimes more if it's an exceptional colony. And this is like it may be over 12 frames, but I kind of look at it and go, okay, this one's got a third, this one's got a half, this one's a full frame. And I kind of condense it down to this is about this much frames of brood. So you got to have quite a bit. Doesn't mean that you won't get any honey this year if they're small, but it is difficult. We are beginning our flow. We still have 2 months. So if the queen is laying well and they're getting some ground speed, it is possible that you could get some, but timing is a big factor. And I've seen a couple colonies like that, and usually it's because they had some type of stressor going into winter, and they came out super small, like maybe a frame of bees, a frame and a half of bees, or something like that. So Paul Martin, thank you once again for donating to our channel, being one of our members, and for also the kind words. All 3 years in Louisville have been awesome, and we're looking forward to another great expo this year in January. Well, Chris has promised me this is going to be the best ever. Like,
Oh. Appears the Cayman might have frozen. I was checking my confidence monitor, and it looks like he's the one who's frozen. Sometimes it's me. So you guys just have me now until he pops away and comes back. Don't worry. His kids probably pulled the line out of the... No, I'm just kidding. They're old enough now. That joke doesn't really fly anymore. So, but yeah, thank you for the kind words, Paul. We do appreciate that. We're, we've every year we make micro adjustments, right? We make micro adjustments, and I think this year will be one of the biggest jumps we make overall. So there I am. So yeah, we're super excited about all the progress we make, and tickets were up last year, and again, as we always say, Cayman and I would have a pretty boring Laurel blows, but Cayman and I would have a pretty boring party if it was just him and I, and so the fact that all of you guys come is really what is really what makes the show as special as it is. So we appreciate you guys being there. Favorite grafting tool? I have a Chinese grafting tool, and I've used it once, and I was very mediocre at it. That's how it is. Tom says, give a recap real quick. Expo officially, we have dates, we have contracts. January 7th, 8th, 9th. That's Thursday. A little change. It's all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday. As of right now, the vendor setup is just on Wednesday. We do not have Thursday morning to set up as of right now. So that's a little bit of a change on the vendor side of things. We do have a multi-year contract signed with the KEC, and he's back, folks. And we do have a nice contract with the Crown as well. So that's the short and sweet of it. Maybe he froze again. Quit touching stuff. Now you're back, kind of.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you're frozen again.
What in the world? Stupid internet.
Yeah, so that's it in a recap. Quick, Tom. I told everyone to anticipate tickets would go on sale about when they normally do in May, and the website's getting a complete overhaul very soon in the next month. So,
all right. So everything's working. You guys can see me, all that kind of stuff.
You're back and forth on this.
Yeah. So
yeah,
check this out. What do you think of that, Chris?
Can't see it. I know what that is.
What's going on with this dumb internet? I tell you what. All right.
Yeah,
Automatic mite washing device. It's a labor-saving device. So looking forward to that. Every colony's getting washed, or as they say in Kentucky, washed. And I'm looking forward to using that device to help monitor all that kind of stuff. Is it still cutting in and out on me, Chris?
Yeah, really bad.
What in the world?
You're kind of freeze frame, at least on my end. Hey,
all right, how about now?
Margarita mixer. Nope, not any better. In fact, you're still frozen.
How about now?
Nope. Gigi, actually, I won't say that Randy himself created it, but Randy does use something very, very, very similar to that. So, and Cayman and I saw it out in California being used. It's pretty sweet. You don't need to like take your mites and like create a cyclone out of it. You just want like gentle agitation. Clay's giving us the play-by-play. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's good. YouTube. Someone's got to.
And you're frozen again.
What in the world?
Yeah.
All right, you can still hear me though.
Faster. I can hear you.
All right. Well,
dial up.
I know. I've got fiber internet. It usually works really good, but someone boot Jed.
There you go. Is your computer plugged in? Perfect.
Apparently not paying enough for this. All right.
But yeah, that's the updates for the Expo for this this week, this month. So if you guys need me, I will be here. Just let me know.
Yeah. All right. So I assume this is working. So since Chris just said, here you go, Cayman. But yes, so Chris has been working hours and weeks on these projects. I appreciate all that, Chris. And Roy, thank you. This will be 7 years. Impressive. So we definitely want to have some new things. Obviously, the honey bar was a massive hit, and already be thinking of that if you'd like to have some honey to contribute to that. We have some big names wanting to contribute this year. Ray Olivares and his team. Chris and I went out there a month ago and filmed, and we're going to release it. We were going to release it this Sunday, and something came up and we had to do some editing, but that will be releasing that. And I'd love to have some of their honey out there and several other beekeepers across North America and beyond. Yeah, rare form is right, Matt Clark. But the problem of it is people know me fairly well in this group, especially all the regulars. And so they're just waiting for Cayman jokes, any opportunity to do a low blow, and they will. That's what they're here for, and a little bit of beekeeping stuff too. Oh yeah, absolutely. We would love to have some more California honey, Gigi. That was one of the states we were a little bit low on. We did have some. We were very thankful for that. We would like to have more California honey. It was phenomenal. And I've got some meadow foam honey, and I'm hoping to get my hands on a little bit more of that. I'll do that myself. I have to ship it here from Seattle, which is where mine came from. This meadow foam honey is awesome. One of the best flavors. If it was in a flavor competition, I could pick it out. It's so distinct. I could easily pick it out, and it'd be one of my favorites. But we want to do some more things. This is the idea that I had. I don't know how to execute it properly. Is we want to be able to do a better job with meetups for folks. So let's say it's a state that wants to get together, or maybe it's Canadian beekeepers, or maybe it's beekeepers that want to do treatment free, or beekeepers that want to do this. How do we help facilitate that a little bit better? Because as much as I would love to have a room or have a topic for every person, we just can't do that. It's just, it financially does not make sense. Number one, we don't have enough rooms for it. We did get some more space this year, but that's going to be going towards more workshop opportunities and stuff like that. And we've got a couple ideas on how we can make that more available. That'll be on the website, and it'll be running through the same ticketing software we do the regular tickets. So anyone who attends that will have to purchase a ticket and scan that, because that was a nightmare last year, and that was our fault for not thinking of that beforehand for whatever reason. I just didn't think of it. But we're looking to maybe have some opportunities, some tables and some meetup space for folks to be able to meet at a certain time and be able to find beekeepers that maybe like to keep bees the same way that they do. Something like that. I'd love for you all to think about that. Maybe weigh in on some ideas on the next live chat, which will be 2 Fridays from now. Let's see here. More round table room talks. Definitely. Looking to have some more unique things as well. Always some unique things. Love to hear some good ideas. What I would love to do is, if any of you guys know of anyone who does this, I would love to have someone give a talk on producing, packaging, or any dehydrating, whatever process it is, and selling pollen. I think that would be a really interesting topic of discussion. If anyone knows anyone who does that at a significant level, I'd be interested. So Morris says, I need a feed because all my hives are light. Can I put buckets on with lows in the 40s, highs around 60? Absolutely. That's a great time to feed. When you start getting down into the freezing temperatures and the 20s, it's hard for that. But especially with bucket feeders or jars that are above the cluster, at that temperature, they're very good at it. How would you combine your split over a double screen board when a flow starts? Can the split be too big to combine? I mean, the bigger it is, the more honey production they're going to have, as long as both sides have enough room for their queens that neither one feels compelled to start swarming, then you're fine. How would I combine it? Some guys in a strong honey flow, you just yank the double screen board and put it together, because during a strong honey flow, bees really go together quite easily. You could put a newspaper in between it and just give them a little bit of time if you wanted to. But most people in a good honey flow just yank it. More sitting in the lobby for us old guys would be great. That's a good topic, or a good thing to mention, Philip. We did that the previous year, and we were wanting to do more this year, but then we did the North American Honey Bar, and it really took up all that space. So it doesn't mean there's not some things to figure out there. Maybe we put the North American Honey Bar into the trade show this year. We have extended room into the trade show. Oops, am I allowed to say that, Chris? Whoops. We got more trade show space. Woohoo. So that might help clear up some area in the lobby for that. So I think it depends on what you're wanting to do. The Sundance pollen trap is a better pollen trap. It does keep the pollen a little bit cleaner for sure. But the Apame does other things than just a pollen trap, and it's simple and it's easy. So I think if you're wanting to go like for production, Sundance. If you're wanting to just do it at a small level or for yourself, I'd be plenty happy with Apame. I think they work really nice. A foot massage station. That sounds like a genius idea. Not going to happen. Yeah. Unfortunately, in Kentucky, you cannot do that. In Tennessee, you might could get away with it. So this is Rainier. As long as you have two supers and excluders separating them, they should be fine. We do a lot of manipulation of two hives with queens. As long as you have two supers and excluders separating them, they should be fine. We do a lot of manipulation. It's a good comment right there. You need to send me some pictures of this, Rainier, if you do any of that. Yeah, they do allow a lot of stuff in Kentucky. They do. Could you make a cue card badges with each attendee's paid events? Might be easier to scan for entry. Could you make cue card? Maybe, I'll have to talk to Chris about that. The problem of it is the labor. Maybe we could get more volunteers. It's not that Chris isn't capable of doing stuff. I'm not, or anything like that. The problem of it is we don't have that big of a team. And so we can't do all the stuffs. We probably need to get some volunteers to help with that kind of stuff more, but I'm not really good at that. We're trying to get a little bit better about that. When do you start pollen trapping? So for me, I would start in March and April. That's a great time to do it. We want to do it when there's an abundance of pollen, something that we can trap for a day, take a day off, and we're not going to hurt our colonies doing it. We definitely wouldn't want to do it where the pollens are super early and precious or super late right before a dearth period. And the bees are going to need everything they get for the dearth. So we want to do it during the periods of abundance. Right now is a perfect time for me. And pollen is way healthier, in my opinion, for you than honey is. And beekeepers should be taking advantage of it. An apamate trap is a simple way to do it. A good, strong double deep in a period right now could be doing half a pound or more a day. Do that every other day for a week or two. Preserve it, put it in the freezer. If you got a freeze dryer, freeze dry it. Some people dehydrate it. It's very nutritious. It really was. Randy and Elizabeth have always had a great space at our show, and maybe we need to see more of that kind of stuff, more hangout locations. All right, Chris, is there anything that I've missed up above? Anything at all?
Not specifically. I mean, there's certainly questions we've missed on, but I mean, there's a lot going on tonight.
Yeah, you had a portrait lady. Could you get a chair masseuse out in the lobby? Not feet, but shoulders and backs are nice. That sounds really nice. Chris has looked into that. Here's the trick with that, and for people. So Chris has looked into a lot of things, and the problem with a lot of those kinds of things is they want us to be on the hook for thousands of dollars, and well, this is what it's going to cost. Let's say it's $4,000 that will do it for. And if people will pay for these and we cover what we think we should make, then you don't pay that $4,000. But if they don't, then you have to either make up the difference or you have to pay the $4,000. And that's where I just don't know what the demand is for these things. People are like, well, I'd like that, but heck no, I'm not paying that price for it. And, it's just like, do we have to have it? And so that's where we haven't really looked into. We've looked into massage chairs and things, various odds and ends. It doesn't mean that it's off the table, but you know, every year I try a thing or two, and sometimes it works gloriously, and other times there goes a few $1,000s that I could have put towards maybe something that was useful and people enjoyed. Right. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff. And I get it for them. They're sending employees out there. They got to make sure they make up their costs. So it's interesting. Yeah, and I think as big as ours is, we could probably have a guy that did that. If they would be willing to do that, maybe we need to look around a little bit more. Chris has liked that idea in the past, and I've kind of shot it down. So maybe we'll look into it again. Why doesn't someone at the Bee Expo do this? This is a great money making opportunity for you. Just come to the Bee Expo and get at it. Yeah, independent. Yeah, that's probably the trick right there is independent.
Yeah, okay. Let's. I know you're joking, but let's put the kibosh. Please don't go into the Bee Expo parking lot and start doing these things. We dealt with that 2 years ago, and we had to like call the police on the people. It was a whole big thing. Dear Lord.
I mean, it's entertaining. We always want to have stories each year to share, and so far we have not failed.
We don't have
Cops
any
moving people,
we don't
kids
have any
passing
Robert
out.
Crafts. We don't have any Robert Crafts in our group, so I think that's a little bit above
Okay.
the price.
All right. So yeah, there has been emails sent out. Anyone who's paid for a nuke, it's not the same location. The email that we sent out to you has the location of where they're going to be picked up at. If you can't find that email, send one to Chris or to me. Then we'll get that out to you. But yeah, the 25th, it's very close. It's not that far away from the other location. I just had to move. Send it to Josh. No lizards. A lot lizards. Edward, more seating in various places in the vendor hall. Some give out before they get down an aisle. Yep. That's probably a good idea. So maybe we get a few more stations. Well, last year we didn't really have a choice. We had to turn away people, and we were trying to allow vendors to do as much as they could last year, and we just didn't have any spare room. This year will be quite different in regards to that, and so we are very excited by that. We're going to have all day Thursday. That doesn't mean that the trade show is going to be open the whole time. The vendors still want their time to prep and all that kind of stuff, but we are going to have additional sessions available and more time to hang out and that kind of thing. So the show will be extended a little bit, and who knows what else we'll be working on. I'm hoping to kind of have my bees on lockdown. Obviously there's maintenance and stuff, but the busy season, I'm hoping as if I can sell a bunch of bees off here in the next couple of weeks. By May, I'm just going to be having a lot more free time to work on the expo and stuff like that. Chris is obviously working on it constantly, but I want to be able to contribute a little bit more because, well, it's my baby. Chris pretty treats it like it's his baby. That's why we hired him. You do a good job, Chris. Okay. Will there be another event going on at the same time this year? Whatever could you mean, Kathy? No, the ABF is the following weekend. They are going to be in Galveston, I think it is, and they will be the following week. So third week of January for them, second week for us, and that's great. We've never wanted to have it on the same date as them because it's really tough on a few of the vendors that do go to both, and some of the people that want to go to both as well, and some of the academics that want to go to both. Unfortunately, it's just the dates. Like we're looking for another event that we're wanting to put on dates, and we're not talking a year out. We're talking 2 years out. We're looking at all kinds of options. They're just not there. And we're not talking just at the Crown, at the KC. We're looking at multiple places in Tennessee, Georgia, other places in Kentucky, and some other places as well. There's just not enough event centers for all the events out there. And there's all these basketball and volleyball games going on at these events, apparently. Let's see.
Yeah,
Oh,
Cayman.
okay. I thought she meant the ABF, the
No, but
American
just
Beekeeping Federation.
an easy way to remember where the ABF is held this year. It's a place that has landmarks from multiple cities all in one. It's almost like you might call it like an imaginative place that has like multiple
Are you talking about their Are
rivers.
you talking about their AI posts? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I wouldn't. I would never disparage someone who cheats all artists and uses AI for things like that. I would
Oh,
never
oh,
talk ill of that.
don't be like that. They're trying to figure it out. They don't have a Chris.
I'm only a little bitter, chat. I'm only a little bitter on the AI stuff.
I don't like the AI either. There's too many other stuff that we can use that's great. It just takes a little bit more work. Oh, that's funny though. But yes, there was a home show on the other side. I don't know if it's going or not. Now there was another show on the far end setting up, and that apparently isn't going this year. Because we've just purchased one of the spaces that they used for that last year, unless they've shrank it down. So I don't know.
Yeah. So real quick, I'll touch on what you just said. Oh, Cayman, I'm back. Cayman's gone. Yeah, I'll be the first person to admit I use AI for lots of things, for helping to work on things and summarize thoughts and all kinds of stuff like that. He's back,
Did you
but
just boot me?
no, you just disappeared, and I wasn't on screen. Um, but yeah, from our team, you will never see us publishing AI items that we haven't created ourselves. Again, our team uses it in the background, but that's not something that we're going to do. So anyways, get off that topic. So, to your point on the other events happening. So, if you aren't aware, ooh, I have that book somewhere. But if you didn't see that the Kentucky Expo Center is adding on a massive chunk of Class A trade show space on the man, what is that? The south. It's kind of like the southwest corner.
The internet just keeps
So
cutting
it's
out
this
on me.
massive new place. And so once they have the keys for that
There it
location,
goes again.
the West Hall will actually completely disappear. Now we don't use the West Hall at all, but all that means is that Tom, I'm glad that worked out. Sorry that happened. Um, anyway, so once the new area is done, the West Hall will go down. All to mean that in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see shows moving all over the place. Our goal by signing a multi-year deal and really kind of cementing our our flag in the ground is that we're here to stay. We're serious. Our crowd is serious. We bring a lot of money into Louisville. And so we shouldn't have any problems. But yeah, we're working on that. But I want hold on real quick before we address Eric's funny comment. That Matt had the comment about the
Yeah, that was what I was fixing to get to as well.
yeah. So Matt. We hear you loud and clear. Hilco having like a dedicated space like that this year. That's new. That's something we've never dealt with. So that's something we'll work if we do that same thing this year. That'll definitely be whether it's exactly the same or something similar. That's definitely something we'll talk through and hopefully have a better plan on this year. So
Yeah, we have a little bit more space to maneuver with this year, so hopefully that'll create some more opportunities for some things.
yeah,
But we will have to see what makes sense, and we're always looking to make things better. Unfortunately, with thousands of people buying thousands of things, and it becomes it's how much of the chaos can we control? It's pretty much how it works.
Yep.
Let's AI. The genie is out of the bottle. Yeah, and I really have no problem with it if it's used properly. It has its role, but I sloppy work is sloppy, and it's like I like to watch. Like we were talking about some of the Disney films. Chris, are you still there?
Yep.
Some of
I
a lot
can
of
see
the
you.
classic. Yeah, okay, a lot of the classic Disney films. all hand drawn stuff, and a lot of artists there. I don't want to see that go away for a bunch of AI stuff at all. I just think it's really cool. So, anyways, one of the nice things about beekeeping is artificial intelligence is definitely not going to be doing my honey polling for me. I know that.
Yep.
So I don't know if this internet's working. It looks like it's freezing up again.
Your video's freezing, but your audio's great.
My audio is great. All right. So now that I have your attention, I'm going to lower it down an octave, and we're going to finish this smooth. So we're actually past the 1 hour and 30-minute mark. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I'd like to get a little bit more food in my system. I know Chris has got things to do. Hey, 2 weeks from now, we're going to be doing this again. The Expo is rolling now. We have ground speed, momentum. We're going to put some grease on that floor and get that thing spinning quick. So, Chris, it's time to go.
That's an analogy I definitely would not have used for that.
Put some bear fat on that hardwood. So,
no grease on the floor.
Well, bowling alleys, you got to wax the floor, wax the floor.
That's it, you guys. You heard it. There's our big reveal. Bowling alley at the Bee Expo.
That's right. We'll get some grease to do it. All right. Hey, thanks everybody. Happy beekeeping, and definitely be safe. We'll see you in the next video. Yeah!